Genius alone is not enough to rise above the masses. The world is ruled by those who know how to weaponize their intellect, conceal their intentions, and manipulate perception. In this video, we expose 7 ruthless laws that separate ordinary thinkers from those rare minds who dominate from the shadows, so you can stop being overlooked and start becoming untouchable. Most people imagine genius as a gift, an innocent spark bestowed upon a few. But reality is colder. Genius becomes power only when it learns to navigate the malice, envy, and resistance of the world. A brilliant mind without strategy becomes prey, suffocated by mediocre masses who fear what they cannot understand. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. Intellect must pair with ruthlessness, or it will be crushed by politics, emotion, and human weakness. Tonight, we step into the dim corridors of power, where genius does not shine, it sharpens, where brilliance is not admired, it is feared, and where the rise to dominance is not a matter of talent, but of discipline, deception, and strategic cruelty. In every age of power, the greatest minds have never revealed their full depth. They moved like shadows, letting the world see only a fraction of what simmered beneath the surface. You may believe intelligence shines brightest when displayed openly, but history teaches the opposite. Genius, when exposed without strategy, becomes a target. The more extraordinary you are, the greater the hostility you provoke. Consider the fate of Archimedes, a man so brilliant that even invading generals feared the weapons he crafted with his mind. Yet his genius was also his vulnerability. He lived surrounded by men who could not comprehend his vision, and thus they feared him. When Syracuse fell, his brilliance could not protect him. Had he blurred his true capacity, had he hidden the scope of his intellect, his enemies would have hesitated instead of striking without thought. Ask yourself, how often do you reveal too much? How often do you try to prove your intelligence, hoping others will value it? You think you're earning respect, but in truth, you are feeding envy. People do not admire what surpasses them, they resent it. The powerful understand this. They reveal only what is necessary to disarm. The rest they keep beneath the surface, letting others underestimate their reach. Underestimation is not an insult, it is a weapon. When others think less of you, your movements go unnoticed. Your ambitions remain unchallenged. Your victories appear effortless because no one prepared resistance. Look at the courts of Renaissance Italy. The most cunning advisors spoke little and listened much. Their silence was not humility, it was cover. They allowed louder men to expose their minds, desires, and weaknesses. Meanwhile, the silent ones studied every gesture, every careless admission. They gained knowledge while giving none. And when influence shifted, they were the only ones prepared to exploit it. Modern psychology echoes this ancient truth. The human brain is uneasy in the presence of uncertainty. When people cannot read you, they project their own assumptions. Some will believe you harmless. Others will imagine you far greater than you are. Both serve you. Invisibility in thought allows you to occupy multiple shapes simultaneously. But what happens when you reveal everything? You collapse into a single predictable identity. Predictable minds are easy to neutralize. They announce their moves before they make them. They telegraph their intentions through emotion or unnecessary explanation. You have seen this before. The colleague who speaks of every plan, the friend who shares every idea, the leader who exposes every strategy to appear transparent. You must choose a different path. You must cultivate concealed depth. Let your words be fewer. Let your insights surface only when strategic. Allow people to believe they've measured you, while knowing privately they've grasped only a shadow. What advantage does this give you? Every advantage. You gain time, maneuverability, and psychological superiority. You become unreadable, and thus uncontrollable. Consider the art of conversation. Most treat it as an exchange. The strategic mind treats it as reconnaissance. While others rush to fill silence with revelation, you allow silence to work for you. Your restraint pressures them to reveal more. They uncover their hopes, fears, and motives, believing the space is safe. They never notice that you've given them nothing of equal value. This is the essence of concealed depth. The world speaks freely while you remain a mirror. From this position, influence becomes effortless. You know the battlefield while they wander blindly. You know the players while they guess at your intentions. And when the decisive moment arrives, your hidden intellect strikes with the force of surprise. And remember, the world never guards itself against what it cannot see. Hidden truth is the sharpest blade, because it cuts before anyone realizes danger exists. Ask yourself again, is it better to be known or to be effective? Those who crave recognition display their brilliance. Those who crave power hide it until the final moment. You are here not to be admired, but to rise. And rise you will. If you master the art of appearing ordinary while thinking far beyond the ordinary. Emotion is the first chain that binds a brilliant mind, not because emotion is weak, but because it is predictable. Every ruler, every general, every manipulator throughout history has known this simple truth. If your feelings can be provoked, your actions can be controlled. And if your actions can be controlled, your intelligence becomes a prisoner of impulse rather than a weapon of strategy. Think of Emperor Marcus Aurelius, a man surrounded by betrayal, ambition, and constant pressure. His brilliance was not merely in thought, but in restraint. He understood that anger, pride, and desire were storms that could sink empires long before enemy armies arrived. His journals were filled with reminders to detach, to observe his own mind as if it belonged to another. Why? Because he knew emotion is the quickest path to manipulation. Ask yourself, when was the last time someone controlled you simply by triggering a feeling? A careless insult that consumed your thoughts, a fake compliment that nudged your decisions, a sudden spark of envy that made you abandon logic. You might call it being human. The powerful call it being vulnerable. In politics, the most dangerous individuals are not the loud, angry ones. They are the ones who smile calmly while chaos erupts around them. They remain still as others burn with ego or collapse with fear. The masses misinterpret this as indifference. But you, if you choose the path of brilliance, must understand it for what it truly is, a success, an advantage. Emotionally detached minds can see what others cannot. They see patterns where others see insults. They see motives where others see accidents. They see opportunity where others see personal offense. Imagine a negotiation. Most people enter wanting to be liked, validated, or respected. Their emotions bleed into every sentence. They react to tone, posture, even imagined slights. But the psychologically disciplined remain anchored. They observe the opponent without internalizing anything. Every outburst becomes data. Every exaggeration becomes leverage. Every weakness becomes a door. History is full of those who were destroyed because their emotions became visible. Consider Cleopatra's enemies. They were not defeated by armies, but by their own pride and jealousy toward a woman who understood emotional influence better than any of them. She wielded composure as a weapon. She remained unreadable even when surrounded by hostility. Her lovers fell for her beauty. Her rivals fell for her calm. You may think emotional detachment means becoming cold or lifeless. But it is not the absence of feeling. It is the mastery of it. Detachment is the ability to choose your emotional responses rather than surrender to them. It is the art of watching your own anger rise without letting it move your hand. It is the discipline to listen to insult without granting your enemy satisfaction. And here lies the core of the principle. He who controls your emotions controls your decisions. He who controls your decisions controls your future. So you must learn to treat emotion the way warriors treat fire. Useful in battle, deadly when uncontrolled. Let it burn when it serves you. Extinguish it when it threatens your strategy. Most people believe reacting proves authenticity, but you must understand that reacting merely proves vulnerability. Silence, restraint, and stillness. These unsettle others because they reveal nothing. They expose no weakness to exploit. Observe your daily life. The colleague who irritates you. The partner who pressures you. The competitor who tries to provoke you. Every one of them can become your master if you give them access to your emotional core. But cut that access, and suddenly their influence dissolves. You remain in command. You become unreadable, untouchable, unmanipulable. This is why the most brilliant minds throughout history cultivated detachment. Not to escape humanity, but to rise above its traps. To see the world as it is, not as feelings paint it. You cannot rise to power if every insult derails you. You cannot become exceptional if every emotion dictates your direction. Detachment is the armor of genius. Now ask yourself, if you could no longer be emotionally provoked, who would suddenly lose their influence over you? And more importantly, who would you finally become? Because the next law reveals the environment you must build around yourself to protect that mastery, the strategic isolation that turns independence into power. Isolation is not weakness. It is strategy. It is the crucible in which extraordinary minds are forged, and the battlefield upon which subtle power is won. Most people fear solitude because it confronts them with themselves, their doubts, their limitations, their truths. But for those who seek dominion, isolation is not a punishment. It is a weapon. Ask yourself, how often do you bend to the rhythm of the crowd? How often do your decisions rely on approval, fear of rejection, or the desire to be liked? Genius is suffocated when measured by ordinary standards. Your mind, your vision, cannot breathe in the suffocating proximity of envy, opinion, and distraction. Those who rise above understand one undeniable fact. Distance from others is a ladder to power. Consider the life of Leonardo da Vinci. He did not seek constant companionship. He did not surround himself with sycophants eager to flatter. He retreated into study, into observation, into the depths of his own mind. From these chambers of isolation, inventions, paintings, and ideas emerged that reshaped the world. His brilliance demanded solitude. Without it, he would have been just another talented man lost to the opinions of his peers. And it is not merely physical isolation that matters, but psychological. You must cultivate a sphere of influence that filters the world through your terms, not theirs. Who enters your space? Whose opinions can reach your mind? The answer is not a matter of kindness or friendship. It is trust control. Surround yourself with those who serve your purpose, not your ego. Distance yourself from those who dilute your focus, who impose emotional turbulence, or who see your intellect as a threat. Your environment becomes the extension of your strategy. Every conversation, every interaction, every glance must either feed your rise or remain irrelevant. History is littered with those who failed because they misunderstood this principle. Consider the courts of Versailles. Ministers crowded the king, each hoping to impress, to flatter, to gain small victories through intrusion. Yet it was the ones who maintained a deliberate distance, who spoke rarely but decisively, who shaped policy and influence. Physical presence alone is useless. Strategic absence, when wielded correctly, magnifies power. People interpret scarcity as importance and distance as authority. Psychology reinforces this ancient truth. Human minds are prone to projection. When others cannot read you, they fill in the blanks with assumptions. Some will imagine greater competence, others will fear hidden strategies. Both outcomes serve you. The invisible hand of influence is stronger than overt force. When you isolate intelligently, you do not merely escape manipulation. You become the manipulator, controlling perception while remaining untouched. Now, ask yourself, can you tolerate the silence of your own mind? Can you withstand the absence of constant validation? If not, you will never understand the heights that solitude permits. Solitude is uncomfortable because it exposes the cracks in your character, the fragility of your ambitions. But it is precisely this discomfort that makes it transformative. The mind, unshielded from distraction, sharpens. Strategy crystallizes, observation becomes acute, insight becomes deadly. Look at modern examples of isolation as mastery. Inventors, writers, leaders. Those who achieve beyond the norm often retreat. Steve Jobs spent weeks in thought, stripped of social distractions, designing not just products but entire ecosystems. Nikola Tesla worked in near seclusion, producing visions the world initially deemed impossible. Isolation is not withdrawal. It is preparation. It is the secret chamber where you test ideas, refine tactics, and plan moves that others cannot anticipate. Yet isolation is also a mirror. It reveals what you truly are. It shows whether your intellect relies on comfort and applause, or whether it can stand independently. Most shrink from this test, fleeing back to the crowd, seeking validation and reassurance. But you, if you seek to dominate, must remain. You must learn to enjoy your own company as the first court of influence. To be alone is to be untouchable, because those who wish to manipulate you cannot reach you. And remember, the power of isolation is not passive. It is an active strategy of control. By withdrawing selectively, you command attention without speaking. By observing from distance, you gather knowledge others freely surrender. By remaining scarce, you make every appearance weighted with significance. Presence becomes precious. Influence becomes unavoidable. So, ask yourself, who around you is draining your mind, diluting your vision, or sensing your weaknesses? Who must you distance to rise? Because the next law will reveal the weaponized power of perception itself, the subtle art of psychological leverage, where observation and insight transform invisibility into irresistible authority. Power is rarely seized through force alone. It is gained through understanding the minds of others, bending their desires, fears, and perceptions to your will. Influence is not loud, it is invisible. It is subtle. It is the art of turning human psychology into a weapon, and those who master it rise while the ignorant stumble. Ask yourself, how often do people fail not because they lack skill, but because they fail to read the currents around them? Every interaction, every glance, every word carries potential leverage, if you know how to see it. And those who see it first control it. Consider the cunning of Cardinal Richelieu. He never led armies into battle, yet he controlled France for decades. His power was built not on swords, but on observation, manipulation, and the careful exploitation of human desire. He understood that envy, ambition, and fear are tools, and that a whisper in the right ear can topple kings. Influence is not what you take. It is what you cultivate in others without their awareness. Psychology teaches us the same. Human beings are predictably flawed. We are drawn to praise, we recoil from criticism, we follow patterns without conscious thought. To the observant, every predictable behavior is a lever. If you can read these patterns, you can anticipate actions before they occur. You can provoke compliance without apparent force, sow doubt without confrontation, and command obedience without overt threats. Look around your life. Who bends to your words without realizing it? Who follows you because of what you do not say, rather than what you speak aloud? This is the power of psychological leverage, the ability to act indirectly while controlling outcomes directly. It is not manipulation in its vulgar form. It is strategy refined to art. History is filled with examples. Napoleon Bonaparte understood the human mind like few others. He won battles not only with cannons, but by predicting the fears and overconfidence of his enemies. Generals believed they were outsmarting him, yet every move they made was anticipated, every error exploited. He turned perception into power. He never merely fought. He engineered the battlefield of the mind. You may ask, how can this apply to you? The principle is simple yet profound. Observe first, act second. Collect intelligence about your environment, your opponents, your allies. Listen more than you speak. Let others reveal their intentions and weaknesses through words, actions, and even silence. Every detail is currency. Every observation can be converted into influence. But leverage is not passive. It must be applied with precision. Consider Cleopatra. She commanded not through armies, but through the mastery of perception. Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, even entire political factions were influenced because she understood the desires that drove them. She provided what they wanted most, but on terms she dictated. Influence is not generosity. It is strategy disguised as opportunity for others. And here lies the danger. Most people mistake visibility for power. They think that by acting openly, by asserting themselves aggressively, they dominate. In reality, they become predictable, transparent, and easy to counter. True power is invisible. It is the quiet hand that moves pieces across a board while others squabble over squares. It is knowing the desires of others more intimately than they know themselves and turning that knowledge into action. You must ask yourself, who around you is predictable? Who can be guided by suggestion, nudged by silence, or influenced by a carefully placed observation? Every person carries a key to your advantage, if you know how to turn it. But if you fail to observe, you remain blind, reacting rather than orchestrating. The brilliant mind does not merely act, it manipulates conditions before action is necessary. It does not seek compliance through intimidation alone, but through subtle shifts that make obedience feel natural, even inevitable. Influence becomes a force of its own, independent of your direct involvement, yet always aligned with your intent. Now reflect how many of your decisions are truly your own, and how many are the result of unseen influences you have overlooked. Imagine if you could reverse the process, turning observation into control, understanding into leverage, and psychology into power. Because the next law will reveal the ultimate instrument of dominance. Was how to turn chaos itself into your ladder, creating environments where only you hold the map and everyone else stumbles blindly toward your command. Competence alone is overrated. Skill, intelligence, and talent are often admired, but admiration does not command. History shows us time and again that the most brilliant minds do not always rise, while the shrewdest manipulators dominate. Why? Because power is not a measure of ability, it is a measure of influence, perception, and the mastery of human weakness. Ask yourself, have you ever witnessed someone far less capable than you climb higher faster, simply because they knew how to maneuver within systems, to bend perception, to exploit desires and fears? It is infuriating, yet entirely predictable. Manipulation is the hidden engine that propels ordinary intellect into extraordinary authority. Competence opens doors. Manipulation ensures you walk through them first, unnoticed yet unstoppable. Consider the political landscape of Renaissance Florence. Guilds, councils, and families were filled with competent men, scholars, merchants, bureaucrats. Yet it was not the competent who shaped the city's fate, but the cunning. Lorenzo de' Medici was not the greatest scholar, nor the most skilled banker in Florence. But he understood leverage, influence, and psychological mastery. He manipulated allies and rivals alike, orchestrating marriages, favors, and debts to secure dominance. Competence without manipulation is like a sword in the scabbard. You may be sharp, but you remain unused while others strike. Even in warfare, the same principle applies. Napoleon Bonaparte was brilliant, yes, but more than his strategic mind. It was his ability to manipulate perception that made him formidable. He understood that a demoralized army surrenders faster than a defeated one. By spreading misinformation, feigning weakness, and exploiting the pride and assumptions of his enemies, he won battles before they began. Manipulation amplifies competence. It turns ordinary skill into an unstoppable force. Ask yourself, are you being observed, or are you orchestrating the observations? Most competent people work hard, perform well, and hope recognition will follow. Yet the world does not reward effort alone. It rewards those who shape how effort is perceived. The clever manipulator controls narrative, constructs illusions, and ensures that their influence appears effortless while others struggle to understand their rise. Even in modern society, this principle manifests. Look at corporations, politics, and social hierarchies. The most skilled worker is often overlooked, while the one who networks, influences decisions subtly, and crafts perception ascends. Competence is silent. Manipulation speaks in tongues that everyone listens to, without realizing they are being guided. This is the cruel truth few admit. Intelligence is only powerful when paired with psychological strategy. Psychology reveals why manipulation beats competence. Human beings are prone to biases, attachments, and illusions of control. They overestimate visible skill and underestimate hidden agendas. When someone appears charming, confident, or aligned with their desires, they obey, even if their competence is mediocre. Influence is often mistaken for ability, and it is far more effective. The mind, after all, is more vulnerable than the body. Consider Cleopatra once more. She was not a military genius. She did not command armies with unparalleled skill. Yet her manipulation of Julius Caesar and Mark Antony reshaped empires. She understood perception, seduction, and psychological leverage. Her power came not from doing everything herself, but from making others do her bidding, often unknowingly. Competence without this art would have left her a mere queen of a collapsing kingdom. You must ask yourself, do you strive only to be capable, or do you cultivate influence? Do you depend on others to recognize your skill, or do you ensure your skill is felt, feared, and followed? The subtle hand of manipulation transforms competence from a private asset into public dominance. Without it, brilliance is wasted, talent ignored, and potential crushed under mediocrity's weight. Manipulation is not maliciousness for its own sake. It is strategic. It is the calculated alignment of perception, action, and psychology to ensure victory, recognition, and control. The truly powerful understand that intelligence alone wins few battles, influence wins kingdoms. And now, reflect. How many of your achievements remain unseen, undervalued, or ignored because you have relied solely on competence? How many battles have you already lost to those who understood that perception can be a weapon sharper than skill? Because the next law will reveal the ultimate tool that turns influence into dominance. Her sense, how to engineer chaos and uncertainty so that only you stand in control, while others stumble blindly within the world you've designed. Power is rarely taken. It is bows earned in shadows, not by brute force, nor by open brilliance, but by the subtle art of influence, by bending minds without their awareness, by turning desires, fears, and assumptions into tools of control. Ask yourself who truly moves the world. The loud, the admired, the competent, or the silent strategist, the invisible hand that shapes events before anyone notices. The genius of control lies in remaining unseen, yet commanding everything. Every word observed, every reaction measured, every perception guided. This is the game. And those who play it well rise beyond recognition, untouchable, unchallenged. Now, consider your own circle. Who bends to your influence without knowing? Who is unknowingly paving the path you desire? Do not leave power to chance. Learn. Observe. Master, share your reflections below. Your insights reveal much about your mind. Subscribe for more strategies drawn from the coldest truths of human nature. And share this video. Let those who are ready begin to see the invisible game of control. Because the world is shaped by those who know how to act while others believe they are free.